find fossilized fish eating other fish.
Today we're back with Allan Parr and Dr. Biddle. We're going to see their evidence for a global flood that occurred about 4,000 years ago and wiped out all life on Earth. Let's see what they have to say today.
So the flood is a snapshot of the judgment that happened on this earth rapidly and quickly. And the very fact that when you go to the middle of America, not in all locations, but in many locations, you find these dinosaurs encapsulated in a matrix of 3 different products: mud, sand, and ash.
Mud, sand, and ash, so things caused by water, wind, and volcanoes. Later they're going to talk about the fountains of the deep breaking open and causing volcanoes to erupt. Interesting thought. Do young Earth creationists believe there were volcanoes before the flood happened? They do believe that the Earth was created perfectly, so are volcanoes good or bad according to them?
They didn't just die some natural cause and later get covered by ash. No, there was a lot of volcanism that was going on in the flood, so they're buried in the product of ash, and they're also buried in mud and sand that were brought up from all the tsunamis that were happening during Noah's flood.
That's quite a bold claim to make. How can you make this claim when you admitted before that you have no idea how this happened and don't understand it at all? What evidence is left behind on the fossils that shows your way is the correct way and established science is wrong? You know, the whole Occam's razor thing, the simplest explanation and whatnot. The simplest explanation is dinosaurs died and then volcanoes erupted and covered them in ash.
The very fact that you can dig them up in these 3 different products really, again, provides an ironclad case for Noah's flood.
No, it doesn't. But the average young Earth creationist is not going to do their own research, and they're just going to believe people with impressive letters after their name without bothering to check out what degree they actually have. I'm not saying this because he's a young Earth creationist. If Bill Nye the Science Guy tried teaching me about theology, I would stop listening right away.
How else are you going to bury a 13-state kill zone with dinosaurs?
A drought followed by flooding. And who says all 13 states were buried at the same time?
With some natural process, or the dinosaurs walking up to some river that overflowed its bank with some local flood? With 13 states of dead dinosaurs, a 600,000 square mile kill zone? I mean, I'm sorry, it had to be a worldwide flood.
Living animals, they're not fossilized? Is this guy serious? Does he think he's funny? Does he even understand how floods actually work?
Yeah. So something in the movie that was so interesting, and you kind of alluded to it, but I just want to touch on it again, that many, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but many of the fossils that they discovered, it was almost like they were discovered in the middle of the act of doing something else, like a fish getting ready to, or in the process of eating another fish, or a reptile giving birth to a baby, and all of a sudden, swoosh, this flood of water just came and killed them instantly.
Or, and this might be a stretch, the fish died while eating. The animal died while giving birth. Then later they were fossilized. This is the problem with automatically rejecting any evidence you don't agree with. you come to the wrong conclusion. You have to be open to everything, even if it goes against what you initially proposed.
And preserve them in the exact state in which they were in the midst of getting ready to do something or in the act of something, which once again, guys, contributes not to something that where the earth kind of decayed over time, but it points to the idea that there was some sort of one-time catastrophic event that we as Christians and biblical Christians believe was the flood.
It must be nice to live in a fantasy land, and I am a Bible-believing Christian. Believing in the Bible should not stop you from following logical evidence.
Now, we do find in many of the deposits, the animals were killed in one location and then redeposited somewhere else because we find them in graded and sorted beds. But we also find dinosaurs that were in the middle of fighting and then got buried.
In all of the history of animals fighting each other, is it just possible that in this instance, the two animals killed each other?
But just the extent of the vastness of this fossil record is incredible. You can go to databases online where they plot out all the fossils. There are literally billions of dead things laid down in rock layers all over the planet.
That's what happens when you have 3.5 billion years of things dying and being fossilized.
And it really is just clear and obvious evidence of Noah's flood. Just like 2 Peter says that the evidence for the flood is obvious, but in the end times it's going to be obfuscated. People are going to teach against it. It's going to be made kind of unclear or uncertain. They're going to throw doubt on it. But you look around the world.
If it was obvious, people would discover it and believe it without reading the Bible. Thank you once again for joining me here at Real Life Struggles and going on our journey. If you do like the video, it would be great if you could like and share. And if you're not already, hit the subscribe button. In our next video, we'll be looking at more evidence for the global flood. And we'll see, does it hold up or not?